Welcome, KFWB News Talk 980, our flagship station, or Extreme Talk XM channel 165, or everybody listening or watching us on the World Wide Web at KLEANradio.com. That's clean with a K. My guest host tonight is Jenny Gimenez, and apparently somebody put the wrong bumper, and we had this amazing thing that people heard last week. I'm sorry, Jen.
Thanks. Hi, it's nice to be on.
People are going to get fired for that.
I hope that people get scolded for that. My thing is going in and out, by the way. I don't know if
I won't even go there.
My cord.
Your headset.
Yes, headset's going in and out. But thank you for having me as I get to co-host with you when Andrew's not here. Yeah. And you didn't say easy on the eyes.
Oh, sorry. Jennifer Easy on the Eyes Gimenez. I was so about him, leaving you out and all that I forgot to do that. Sorry, Jennifer Easy on the Eyes Gimenez.
No, it's okay. I also want to say, I commend you for showing up tonight. I know I was talking to you outside, and you are not very happy because you're in a lot of pain right now.
Yes.
And just showing up, is a miracle. And I thank you for showing up so we can do this show.
And let's explain to people what's going, so they don't think I have a horrible tooth. And to anybody out there that's had a horrible tooth, because it's so funny, because I've been texting people because I wanted to talk to people, and everybody that's texting me goes, I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things, because everybody has gone through horrible tooth pain, and it's one of those things you can't control.
You can't control, and the pain is so intense. You can't even explain it,
right?
And you're just miserable.
And welcome to the Dentist Hour with Jenny Gimenez and Judah Friedman. No, but
I'll be cleaning your teeth.
I've been struggling with, because we're both sober. You're sober quite a while. I'm sober quite a while, a little longer, and hopefully I'm always ahead of you. And,
I hope so too.
Yeah, and we struggle a lot of times because, and something we discuss on the show all the time is about painkillers. And the pain you get into and all that stuff when you're this is you could go through horrific pain, and there are a lot of times two different camps in the 12 steps. One, people that go never take, never, and there are some people that say take as prescribed. Mm-hmm. And it's very conflicted when you're going through the pain. You have it's like you have it's the Gazoo or whatever that they used to be, that TV show where the guy was on one. It was like from the Jetsons. I think it was Gazoo, and on one shoulder he had like the devil, on one shoulder he had the good guy, and it's like you have both of these people screaming at you, and it's one of those things you have to make these decisions for yourself of what works for you.
I agree. And I had emergency surgery when I was I think it was 9 months sober this time around.
You had that goiter on your neck.
Yes. No, I had cysts in my ovaries, and there were my fallopian tubes, all this girl stuff, and I had to do it. And so when I got out of surgery, they gave me medication, and I called my main addictionologist, Dr. Harasti at the time, and I said, what do I do? What do I do? Do I take this? I'm in so much pain. And he said, pain medication works for those who are in pain. My mom, of course, and at the time I did have an assistant, they were giving me the medication, and they gave it to me as prescribed. And I just didn't trust myself enough yet then to do it. But it does work if you need it. That's not an excuse, but I do believe that to each his own on that.
And
level.
They did discover medicine to help people.
Absolutely,
and,
absolutely.
So. And secondly, by the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's Clean with a K. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We do have calls lined up, and we're going to start taking them in a second. But there's something I wanted to talk about, and it's really, to people out there that are listening, it's Sunday night. It's some people are either thinking about getting sober, some people are newly sober, some people are sober a while. And one of the things when people are newly sober, getting sober, is they're going through a lot of pain. They're having to face the damage that they've incurred for so many years. And I was 22 years old when I got sober, and I had nothing. I would go to meetings. I would wear my father's clothing. Mm-hmm. I was not a vision for you. I wasn't looking good. And all I really had going on was I would go to these meetings, and literally I had this sadness in me. And I would scream at meetings. I would scream at speakers. I would just scream at everybody because I was miserable. And people used to say to me, that's good. You're supposed to be miserable. You know, you've lost your best friend. You've lost the love of your life, which was alcohol. And I remember that one day I was sitting at this meeting, and this guy named Roy or Ray, whatever, he looked and he sounded like Harvey Fierstein when he talks, and he goes, Judah, what is it that you want out of life? And at that point, literally, I would have said a new pair of shoes or a bed. And he goes, shut up. You'd just be cutting yourself short. And to everybody out there that's struggling right now, that's going through a rough time, I know it looks like that there's no way out of it right now, but I could promise you something great will happen or can happen if you don't take that drink. You know, if you take that drink, it's like, you know, that, what is that, the Jay-Z song, I got 99 problems and my one? You know, this is like you'll have one more problem. You know, this will... And I'm sure you went through the same thing. You know, it's like you get sober and you hit that moment where you're in so much pain and all you want to do is drink. And I sometimes think that the people that stay sober are the ones that go through. I know the people that get through it are the ones that go through that pain.
Yeah. No, and I agree with you, you know, and it's funny, I kind of laughed when you said that because, you know, I had that one moment, but I got to tell you, since my January 15th of 2006, I have had those moments often. You know, last year I had it, you know, where I was like, F it, you know, and I went through it. Like, I just know whatever I'm going through, like, I have to ride it through. Like, I've been going through a lot of growing pains recently. Lots of change is occurring, and it's good change. And I want to like detach because it's so scary, like to confront. And today has been that day that I've been in it, you know, working. And it's all these things that I only dreamed would happen. And they're actually happening now in my life. And yes, it's a blessing, but also it's like, how do I do this? You know, and you just do, you write it through, you know, and a couple of weeks ago, you know, I was going through it, you know, I'm constantly going through it. It's evolution, you know, it's evolving and changing and growing and learning.
Which is the one thing that alcoholics really feel most uncomfortable with, and drug addicts is change. You know, that is like, that's the kryptonite for alcoholics and addicts is change.
Yeah.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. I'm in the studio tonight with Jennifer Easy on the Eyes Gimenez, who's co-hosting as Andrew makes his way back from Scotland. Give us a call at 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Let's take the first call of the night. We have Hazel in Waterfront, Connecticut. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Hazel.
Hi, Doc. She stayed up.
Yeah, she did. I'm very impressed.
I know. They wouldn't let me say doc, so...
That's because you're not a doc.
Well, come on now. I'm a
Well, you sound like a cute
She
doc.
actually has a great question tonight, so Hazel, I'll let you ask the question. Not that you don't always have great questions, but this is, in particular, a very good question.
Yeah, no, the question actually is, and I question Jen on this quite frequently, is I know part of the 12-step is... you know, relinquishing yourself to a higher power. But what do you do when you don't believe in that higher power? Or if you don't believe in a higher power?
That is a great question, and there are 12-step atheist meetings, and there are, you know, listen. In the end of the day, it says a higher power. It doesn't necessarily have to be a God.
No, and it says as we understand
him or them, and it could be a group of people. I knew a guy, and I was talking about this with somebody today. His name in New York, his nickname is Good Orderly Direction Brian. And he's been sober over 40 years, and you know, obviously God, you know, the spelled out, or to help some people joke around, is Good Orderly Direction. And he's managed to stay. And I know a lot of people that are like that in that same position. So whatever gets you sober, whatever is that thing, you know, good for you.
There is something that we believe in. All of us believe in something. Like for me, I believed in drugs and alcohol, and then it just stopped working. Like then I believed in, you know, I believe in I got to create the God how I chose it to be of my understanding. And it's different than a religious God that we grew up with. You know, it's a spiritual way. Like some people say it's groups. Some people say it's a question mark or a doorknob. Some people say it's the earth or the ocean. You know, it's different things. And it's like, I've responded to you saying you get to create who that you want that to be.
Right. But it's also, I'm going to tell you something. The reason for me, it's very personal, obviously, too, is I grew up, I am Jewish. I grew up, my first time I was at a meeting when I was 18 years old, or I was in rehab, and I remember hearing them say the Lord's Prayer. And I was like, what is this? You know, because I had never heard I'd never heard the Lord's Prayer, but I knew there was something very Christian about this prayer. And it sort of freaked me out, to be honest with you. And, but, you know, and I had to come to terms with that. And I don't say it. Me personally, I don't say the Lord's Prayer when they say it at meetings. I just say, I just move my lips so it looks like I'm saying something. No, I don't do that. So I found my place, and I think here's the deal: your life is in ruins. Your life it's like find something. I don't care if it's God, the group is your higher power, if it's Jen who's your higher power, whatever gets you there, and you just have to give up.
Yeah, I mean, like Judah and I, on a religious level, like we have different religions. We look at things differently, but I believe that my God talks through me, through Judah and other people, and I believe that the universe speaks to me, through things like that. And sometimes it's like music, sometimes it's, the air. I don't know. It changes, it evolves for me. So I get to create it differently.
Doc, did that help?
Somewhat, I guess.
Oh
well,
my
you're
God,
never going to get really the answer you want, because it's really the question through the ages, right?
Yeah, I would venture to say so. I mean, I tell my little mini cult, like whatever makes you feel good throughout the day. If it's a computer that you feel flawless through, if it's a coffee table, whatever. But it's for me personally, it's it's the glass.
Well, my God loves you, and I love you, and I want to see you just succeed in your life to your best potential.
Doc, we got to run. I love that you call.
Love you, Doc.
I love that you post. So we'll talk to you next week, Doc. Have a great night. That's a great call, and I love when people ask questions like that, because I think, by the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. I'm in the studio tonight with the lovely and talented Jennifer Gimenez. Let's go to our next call. We have Lonnie in Aliso Viejo. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Lonnie.
Oh, thank you so much for taking
Lonnie.
my call.
Oh, you got it.
I have never heard this show before. I just got in my car, turned on the radio, thinking that there might be a Dodgers game on or something, and I heard this radio show, and I thought, oh, my God, this is wonderful. I've got to tune in. Is this a regular show?
Yes, we're on every week, Lonnie, from 8 to 9 on Sunday nights on KFWB, also XM 165. And you could hear all our old shows at KLEANradio.com. That's KLEAN with a K, because we're cool like that. And in the studio tonight, guest hosting is Jennifer Gimenez. So, she's...
That is so cool.
So, Lonnie, you're sober over 30 years?
Yes. May the 20th, 1982 was the last drink I had.
That's absolutely amazing.
Thank you for showing us that it exists.
And so let me ask you a question. So when you turn on a show like this, when you were getting sober, was it, I'm sober like close to 13 years. It was, so people like you that are sober 30 years made it easy for me. How was it 30 years ago? Was it...
You know what? 30 years ago, I saw people like Chuck Chamberlain, who was like a god down here in this area, and big guys like that. And I thought, you know what? They just never drank like I did. They must not have had the same problem I have. But I looked at the guys with 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, and those people I believed. The people with 10 years and more, I just really didn't believe them. I thought they must not have had the problem that I've got, because they obviously just haven't been able to, they've stayed sober so long, and I know it's not possible for me. But that guy with 6 months, I thought maybe that's possible.
Right, that's doable.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning of the show we were talking about, because... there are a lot of people out there right now that are going through pain. And one of the things about this show that we try to talk about is the life after you get sober, and that there is life to be had. And a lot of times people, when they get to a month or 2 months and the pain gets really great, that's when they decide, I don't want to go through. They can't handle the pain.
Yeah.
Yes, I quit many times. Quitting wasn't really my problem. I knew how to quit, but I didn't know how to stay quit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because a month, I could put together a month or 3 months sometimes by willpower, But I would always get to that point, which I heard you talking about on a show, that point where it just feels like I cannot do this. I cannot go through this. I can't stand this much pain. I have to find a way out of this pain, and I have to take a drink. Mm-hmm. And that would always happen to me. And until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous and sat in rooms with lots of people who were just like me, talking, telling their stories that were just like mine, until I got to that and stayed there long enough for the magic to happen, I could not stay quit. And the magic that happened for me happened around 60 days, is when I was relieved from the desire to drink. It left me.
And how great has the last 30 years been?
Well, you know what? I got sober when I was 27 years old.
Wow.
And so everything that has happened in my life that has been worthwhile has happened in the last 30 years. The first 27 years were just not worthwhile.
Right.
They weren't worth living. But the last 30 years, everything that's happened to me that's been good has happened to me since I've been sober. Like, I've met my beautiful wife. We've had a beautiful daughter. She's grown up, and she's had a beautiful son.
And I think, Lonnie, I'm going to stop you because I think that's so important that you're talking about that, because I think sometimes it's like when people are trying to get sober, we were talking about, they look at the past and they're like, it's like their first thought is, as they're getting sober, oh God, did I do that? Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, it's sort of amazing that you're sharing this, that 30 years, you know, what gave it to you was stopping.
Yeah, and not everybody too. Like, I love that you're talking about what your last 30 years have been like, because, you know, some people get sober when they're in their 30s or 40s or 50s or even 60s, and they're like, oh, but my life is already over. And it's like, no, your life can now, it can really start. You can create it to be what you want it to. It sounds like what you did, and you were young, but you know, you've lived through it all, and it's amazing that you've stayed sober through it all.
Well, back then, nobody in those rooms was as young as I.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They were all old people. I'm not sure why, but I was a youngster at 27. And everybody else was old, you know, over 50 or, you know.
I thought you were going to say over 30.
Over 40, you know. And to me, my initial thought was I felt really ripped off. That they had been able to drink their whole life until they get like 50 years old or 60 years old, and then they got to quit. And how unfair is it that I hit my bottom and I ran smack into that brick wall when I'm 27 years old? It's just not fair.
That by the way, that's hysterical, because I have shared the same exact thing of this jealousy that I used to be. When I got sober when I was 22, I was jealous of the people that got there when they were 50, that they had the extra 28 years of drinking out there.
Yeah.
And then the people that were 50 were jealous of me because I had gotten in while I was young. And then I realized no matter when you get sober, you're miserable.
Exactly.
No matter what age. Lonnie, we got to run, but please listen again. Like us on Facebook. We're at KLEAN Radio, on Facebook/KLEAN Radio.
Thank you so much for calling us. And again, thank you for showing us that this works.
Yeah, we're on every Sunday night from 8 to 9, Lonnie. And it's great to know people still listen to the radio, even if you're looking for a Dodger game. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio Live. That's KLEAN with a K. The number here is 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. Go to Facebook, like us, listen to our past shows at KLEANradio.com. We're in the studio tonight with Jennifer on the Eyes Gimenez, who's been on so many shows. She's extremely a good multitasker, since she's not even paying attention to me.
I'm paying complete attention to you.
And
let me tell you why I'm saying that.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you in. Is that you made a really good point. Is like his question was good, and there's been such great questions with Lonnie and with Doc. And there's this question that's been haunting me all week that I got. And it was a personal one sent to me on a DM, and it said, you know, how I'm trying to find the cut to it. And by the way, I am a woman. I can multitask, kiddo. Unlike some men that I'm sitting across from. But
no skill with multitasking. But go on. What was the question?
I'm trying to cut it out so it doesn't make it, show who it is. It says, how have you made it over 6 years and not relapse? How have you stayed so strong and not given in when it gets rough?
Right.
And I've been going back and forth, and I just thought, that's such a great question. And there was another question earlier in that, in my DMs, and it was like, have you ever wanted to quit, and why didn't you? And it's like, I've wanted to quit, I have quit, through the years in my life. I wish, and you're talking about Talani, and this is what triggered all this, is that, I go back and I go, gosh, if I got it at 21, it would have changed. Things would have changed. I would have owned the universe, at least my universe.
Right.
And I'm not 21, and I'm lucky that I started then, because I do want to quit sometimes now, but I don't, and why I don't is because I know what it was like before I quit. And when you ask, like, what was it like that day before you got sober, and it's more than just that, it's about like that, you talk about the physical pain that people want to relapse. And Lonnie was saying at 60 days, he got clarity. I didn't get that this time around. I didn't get, that sense
pink
of
cloud, as they say.
I got no pink
right.
cloud.
But it was funny because I was talking to my girlfriend on the way in, and I said, and it's one of the things I always say to people when they call me up and they're in pain. And I'm not joking when I say this. I go, you're in the right place. Mm-hmm. I go, because if somebody was 60 days sober calls me up all happy, I'm nervous.
Yeah.
It's when people are in rehab and they're miserable, I'm like, yeah, you're doing great.
I know.
It's when people are screaming, you're doing great. Because somebody in New York used to say this to me all the time. I was like in a lot of pain. It was this guy, Good Early Direction Brian. And I would say this to him. I'd go, I'm in pain. He goes, you know why you're in pain? And I go, why? I was like a little scared. He goes, because you're fighting the change.
Yeah.
You're fighting the change. And he goes, and I was like, I really didn't know what he was saying. But, it started to make sense that when you're in pain and you're just fighting, you're fighting growing.
Yeah.
And it's the ones that stay are the ones that get through those moments of those pain, of whether it's getting divorced, breakups, shakeups, losing jobs, not knowing if another job is going to come.
Yeah.
Right, dealing with past traumas. These are some of the most painful things in the world. And it's like, and I don't look at it, it's sort of sad because, not sort of sad, but I was talking, we have the greatest cure for any disease out there, right? You get sober, what's your cure? It's talking about yourself, and it's eating at diners till 4 a.m. I mean, that's like the cure for alcoholism, right? With people with cancer, you'd say, what's the cure? It's like one has to get chemo, one has to eat and talk about themselves. But it's deeper than that with alcoholics and drug addicts, because you're right, there's that trauma from the past. What did I do last night? Who did I do last night? And all of these things of 20, and it blocks a lot of people from getting sober. So if people are out there tonight and you're going through that and you feel like you're the only one, I could guarantee you one thing, you're not the
only one. And that is what is amazing.
And that's what I see all the time, which is amazing with your tweets and your followers. It's really cool because somebody was saying this to somebody I know today. They go, you don't know how your story is going to help other people. Mm-hmm. And I really think it's cool that you're on these shows. You're on Rehab, which is coming up pretty soon. You've been on Celebrity Rehab. You've been on Sober House. You've been on Beverly Hills Housewives.
CNN.
And Jane Velez Mitchell, right. And all these different things. But you never know when your message, if somebody would have seen you 6 years ago, 6 years ago, if somebody would have said to you, all these things are going to come true again, that you wouldn't even have thought you wanted to do half these things. Mm-mm. You never thought you probably would have wanted to be on Jane Velez.
No, I would have been.
I don't even think she was on TV. But
no, she was.
Right.
I mean, the thing is, like, what do I have that they would even want? Or what does my story matter? Why it doesn't matter? And it's funny because I have a lot of people on Twitter and Facebook and my websites and stuff, and a lot of people that come up to me and they'll say, they're normies,
right.
And they'll say, I relate to your story about blah blah blah, and it doesn't always have to be about addiction. But it's about a certain change, or that you've been so public about change. And that's what life is about. Like, we are all human beings. We experience
and we're
emotions,
evolving.
and we're evolving. Yeah. And how do you deal with these emotions? Like right now, I've been meeting with my sponsor and therapy and all this stuff and writing, and I'm writing a book, and I'm having to connect with my childhood, and I'm angry. I'm angry at my dad, I'm so angry, and I'm trying to heal with my dad, and he's dead.
Right.
And how do you do that? You know what I mean? And so my sponsor was saying, you know, what you're doing is you're literally bringing the dark into the light and releasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm addressing it. And I watched What the Bleep Do We Know? It's a mockumentary, and they have these scientists and doctors and everything, and they talk about addiction and how it's like in your cells, and the traumas of how we used to be is in our cells and stuff, and how you can change that, but it takes a lot of work. And I'm 6 years sober, and I'm dealing with things that I thought I already dealt with.
All right. And it's, you know, it's funny you say that word work, you know, and like people often say that, and it is, it's, I guess it is work trying to change yourself. It's really hard. I mean,
it is the hardest job I've ever had.
And I think what it comes down to is people that want to, people that are so broken that they get to that point where they're willing to listen to somebody they might never have listened to in the first place. And, you know, I mean, I think that's all we're saying is just do the work, you know.
You're talking about cancer and like, you know, that if somebody were to say to people that got diagnosed cancer, like, do some writing, it might take you an hour and a half, 3, you know, and I want you to read it and this and that.
And your cancer is gone. They would take it in a second.
They do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, let's go to diner. I'm going to buy you lunch. Come over to my house. I'll feed you. And let me read me your stuff. Addicts are like,
right.
I can't.
I know, and see gorgeous people all the time, you know. But drug addicts are like, alcoholics are like, I don't know, that might be too much work. By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. That's KLEAN with a K. We're gonna have to go to break soon, but there's something funny I actually want to talk about. The other night I was out with friends. I'm not gonna mention his name, but a friend of mine smoked something, and he got really sick. And he looks at me afterwards, and he goes, Jude, this stuff is really getting strong. Or is it as strong as when we did it? I'm like, I don't know, because I'm not doing what you're doing right now, but I'm guessing probably yes, or not guessing. I know that the weed, the marijuana you're smoking, he's 31. So the marijuana you smoke when you're 14 to 31 is 40%, you know, harsher than it was. And I want to talk about that on the other side of the break when we come back, is that marijuana is extremely, the marijuana is very dangerous these days. And I'm not trying to scare people off. But you are listening to KLEAN Radio Live. I'm in the studio with Jennifer on the Eyes Gimenez. We'll be back. You know, the discussion continues at KLEANradio.com. We'll be back in a few seconds.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's KLEAN with a K, KLEANTreatmentCenter.com.
Welcome back to KLEAN Radio. We're in the studio tonight with Jennifer on the Eyes Gimenez. She's co-hosting with me. And I want to thank you. You have, like, probably the greatest fans out there.
I honestly, not even joking.
The greater Twitter followers, the greater...
Amazing.
And they
Facebook.
are, like, I mean, like, they are really, like, just... I love reading their posts, their questions,
and half of these people are not... They're normies.
Right.
They're like... They're just amazing human beings,
right.
and I'm so lucky. Yeah. You're lucky to have them now.
I am.
I mean, like, they're so on the Judah bandwagon that I get jealous.
Yeah.
But I love where you left the conversation.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
By the way, we're listening to KLEAN Radio.
Yes.
That's KLEAN with a K.
You can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I was, but that's okay.
Go on.
Anyways, thanks for listening, everyone. And I love how you were talking about your friend who smoked something. Let's just call it weed.
Yes.
And people are tweeting me right now and tweeting you too, saying, you know, I smoked something and it got me so paranoid. Like, what I had realized this time around, like, I thought I was just buying cocaine. Like, it was laced with horse tranquilizer, rat poison. Like, the guy was trying to kill me with heroin, speed. I was a full-blown junkie. And the thing is that what they taught me was so basic. Like, when you're buying chemicals, which is drugs, you have no idea what you're buying these days.
Exactly right.
You know, you could be... I remember smoking something that maybe was weed when I was 15 in New York, and it had PCP in it.
Well, that's why my favorite thing is the pot smokers that all eat at Whole Foods.
Yeah.
It's like they'll put anything into their system. They won't put anything, I got to go to Whole Foods, get fresh, raw food, and I got to go hiking on down Runyon Canyon to up Runyon Canyon, but I'll put weed in. I'll put, like, whatever some guy or woman mashed up in their bathtub.
Yeah.
But
it's natural.
Yeah, it's natural.
And it's like, no, so is cocaine
and
back in the day.
we're not trying to scare people off. You're right, but they do lace these things. It's you go out one night. We know that you should never leave roofies and all.
I
that
had that
jazz.
done to me.
So did I. No, just joking.
No, it was horrible.
No,
it was horrible.
Yeah,
I ended up like beating people up.
Yeah, it's very dangerous. But to people out there that are, the people that are tweeting you and tweeting me about this, I'm not trying to scare you off pot. I have no problem with people that smoke pot. Obviously, not one of my friends was doing it. It
made me paranoid
right,
too. By the way,
he's a friend of mine, but he got so out of it. I had to go outside. We couldn't find him for 20 minutes. It literally felt like we were 14 again in Manhattan, and it was really, really funny. I go out and he's like, I'm never doing this again, and I was like, yeah, I've heard that before, and but it was. I just realized that it's not, to people that think, to parents out there that are listening, pot isn't pot. Just because what you smoked in the 60s, to get you all cool and hip, if your children are doing it might be a little, 40% more potent than it was in the 60s.
A lot more potent. And, there's with drinking too, is that people tweet me too, and I've talked about this before, is like, people go, how could you put yourself in bad environments? And, what kind of example are you being in other shows with people drinking? And, to be honest with you, I'm around people who are drinking all the time. Like, that's part of society.
Yes.
And when I go out or when I'm shooting something or somebody's drinking around me, sure, at times it looks okay, but I didn't drink because I like the taste, and I watch it unfold and unravel, and I see that first moment, like, where it's a little comfortable for them, and then, like, within maybe 3 minutes, it's no longer comfortable or fun, and then I don't need to do that to get out of self, like, right. I did that for so long, and it just stopped working.
Well, I think that's the greatest gift, and I gotta say this, it's like, a few years ago, before I met my lovely girlment now, or 4 years ago, maybe it was 7 years ago.
Saying love. You're like,
yes,
it's so cute. She's gorgeous, by the way.
Yes, she is gorgeous, and she's gorgeous because she's got a beautiful soul.
No, she's gorgeous because she's hot on the outside too. And, I know the soul too, but
she is.
She's hot.
And but like 6 years ago, I went on this date, right? And I met. I used to do the online dating thing.
Oh God.
Yeah, I got. It was and. So I was on it so long. But anyway, so I meet this girl and I make a move, right? And I had I was sober at the time, 6 or 7 years, and she was so happy that she couldn't believe that somebody sober didn't have to have 1 ounce of alcohol in them or drugs in them and made a move. She was so impressed. That was what got me to get, whatever I had to got with her. But so people out there that are listening, it's like, no, and there's something to that. There's something
Sleeping with somebody?
No, I didn't say I'm not going to say that because my mother, it's a family-friendly show. My mother might be listening to the show, and my mother still thinks maybe I'm a virgin.
Okay.
And I'm the Virgin Judah. And but here's the thing, and it's like, for me, the people I want to meet in life are the people that and I'm not saying I have any issues with people that drink or do drugs, but the people that are wanting to have fun, that are doing it of sober mind, are the ones I want to hang out with.
Yeah, and honestly, when I did drug, I was an introvert. I couldn't talk. I was in a shoe. It was in a closet by myself. I'm not one of those social kind of drink. I am crazy sober. I am not.
Yes, you are.
I am not so pleasant to be around when I'm drinking or using. So I know I can't do it. I just know. Although I want to hide about other things. I have to do this attachment of an email and scan it and then send it on. I'm like, scan. What do you do? And it's shutting me down. I just want to curl up in fetal position, and I have to get through that one too. I don't get to drink through that.
You don't get to drink through scanning.
No. I know.
By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. Let me give the number. It's 888-539-2980. That's 888-539-2980. We're a show about recovery and Jen not being able to scan and struggling with it.
I'm going through it sober.
You're going through scanning sober.
Yes.
And it's good that you have many people that, need your scans. By the way, it's something I want to talk about because you look great. And something a lot of people...
okay, I need to...
I want to talk about the weight loss.
Okay, but can we just say, I got to tell this story before you say this, which is so sweet and cute, but let me just say that I was walking in tonight and I'm wearing a really long summer dress. It's a long dress. And I have feathers in my hair. And Judah looked at me and he was like, where are you coming from? With the weirdest look. And I was like, home. And he's like, are you sure? Oh. As
well,
if
no, because you're all dressed up.
But
I figured you were out in an
flip-flops.
event. I figured I was trying to be in tune with your life of what was going on.
You called me. I was at the gym earlier. I'm in flip flops and a long dress.
Yes, you just wanted to show everybody that's watching your flip flops, but you look great. But
okay, go ahead.
Can't anybody take a compliment?
Thank
It's so
you.
hard to compliment women.
I said earlier, thank you, but I just thought the Judah stories are
look how
so great.
good you look coming out of your house.
Thanks.
And
I go back to my pajamas.
So to people out there that are listening, I mean, you've got so let's get to the weight loss thing because I think it's really interesting. 4 years sober, you decided to lose weight. How much weight did you put on in sobriety?
I put on 100, but I came in 30 pounds. I came in an extra 20 pounds or so flabby, and I had an extra 10 to lose. I came in 20 pounds bloated.
Wow.
Basically,
yeah.
Because my body was shutting down when I got sober this time around, from the inside out instead of the outside in, and I put 100 pounds on, and about 2 years and 2 years sober, I realized what I had weighed. I tried the Master Cleanse; it didn't work. I lost 6 pounds, gained an extra 18. I mean, it's just in 20 days of not eating, it was horrible, and it was just the most unhealthy thing to do. And I was trying to go back to old remedies, don't eat today, eat tomorrow, and
right.
That's how I used to lose weight, or the laxatives. None of that worked. And I did a show. I did Sober House my first season at this time 4 years ago,
right?
In August of 2008, and we finished in September. So I was called, constantly over and over again, a fat person, and it was in different words. But I got a treadmill around November. And I started taking action. And what would take me 50 minutes to do 2 miles, I would, now I can do that in 20 minutes. And but I started taking control of my body. And people are like, if I gain any weight, I'm gonna, relapse, or
right.
I can't afford to. And it's no, what about your life? How far will you go? And this whole weight loss is been a journey, and that's I think that's my second or third book I'll be doing is my weight loss. And what I really have done, because there's been many things that I've done. I shock my body and I'm healthy about it. I think that God has a great sense of humor, and anytime I don't eat, I start gagging. I start dry heaving if I'm not, I have to eat. I have a lot of wreckage from the eating disorders I've had.
Yeah.
I've done the binging and purging, and I've done it all.
Yeah,
I really have, and at such a young age. So my
and
body
in sobriety, obviously.
In sobriety,
Yeah.
I was in treatment, and I was trying to get into the sober living part of Las Encinas where I was at, and they caught me throwing up in my cottage, and my doctors all came to me and they said, if you throw up one more time, we're putting you back into the psych ward. And I was like, okay. Since that day, I have not forced myself to
I thought
throw
they were
up.
going to say they put you in a straitjacket because then you can't throw up.
Well, basically,
Yeah.
that's what I would end up being in a psych ward.
But we're going to get back to that. We have a call from Florida from Judy. Welcome to KLEAN Radio, Judy.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I heard that you were talking about weed
Yes.
a few minutes ago, and the question I have is, what is the difference between using it recreationally versus becoming dependent on it? I have smoked off and on for close to 20 years.
That's a long time.
I'm sorry?
That's a long time.
It is a long time. I'm 37. I started smoking when I was 18, and I've actually gone several years without. But I find that during times of, I would say, quote-unquote crisis,
Right.
that I turn to it more. It will be constantly from morning until night. Now, right now, I'm in a happy place, so I don't.
Well, when was the last time you smoked weed?
So I just wanted to get your opinion.
When was the last time you smoked weed?
Friday.
Okay.
So I thought you just said you hadn't done it in 2 years.
No, in a long time, she said.
I said I've gone several years without it.
Oh, okay, my bad.
But I haven't smoked in a long
I've gone
time.
several years without in the past, but it started. Actually, I went through a really bad breakup last year, and I started smoking heavily near the end of last year. And I've cut back significantly in the past month or so.
What is cutting back? That's the first
What
thing.
is cutting back?
What was it like before, and what is your definition of cutting back?
Before I would say would be from morning until night.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, as soon as the high would fade, I would smoke again.
Okay.
Yeah, she needs it to keep going.
But now it would be maybe every couple days late at night. I mean, the less I smoke, the more it pretty much kicks my ass.
Right.
The progression. That sounds like the progression. Judah always says this, like, if you're calling and asking, if what is having a problem, or is this a problem, it normally might tend to lead to yes. And really about addiction and alcoholism, and including, smoking weed, is do I use it to cope? Why do I drink? Why do I use? Is it, to cope? Is it because it releases me of, my problems,
my inhibitions,
does it keep me from what? And it sounds like it helps you use it to cope, right?
And now that everything is good, you're not using it as much.
Exactly.
The question is, what's going to happen when not everything? Because life isn't always going to go well. I mean, I don't think.
How long has it been that you? What's the longest you've not gone? You said a couple years, like ever, not even one hit.
The longest I've gone was about 7 years.
7 years without smoking.
7 years without smoking.
What did you do in that 7 years? Did you?
I was married to somebody who was very controlling.
Okay. And were you getting drunk a lot? Were you?
Yeah, I was. Well, that's actually when I started. I did not even get drunk until I met him. I was 24.
Right. So you basically took out the pot and you replaced it with alcohol for 7 years.
Exactly. Yep.
And then now you're back to that.
Judy, here's the thing. It's do you think you could go a month without smoking pot right now?
Do I think I could go a month without smoking it? Honestly?
Yeah.
Without.
Okay, if you have to think about it, the answer's probably no.
I get it.
Taking too long. I think I'll be honest, I think I could, but I know the first 2 or 3 days would be hard.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, 7 days. I'll tell you what, it's Sunday night, 8:45, 11:45 your time since you're in Florida. Let's try for 7 days.
Okay.
Will you call this time next week?
This time next week at about, same time, same bat station. And let's see how it goes.
And then, because, I mean, if you could do 30 days but do a weekly check-in and be really honest, like, we have nothing to lose or gain here. It's...
So if I cave, I'm still...
No, I would still love to know if you did. We're not, Lord knows I'm not doing...
we're not going to scold you. We're not going to punish you.
We're the least punishing people in the world. I'm just curious to see, because here's the deal. It's like what we were talking about. Maximum in life, the maximum fun you should have is, and I mean this, is being sober. For me, the greatest buzzes of my life have been my first sober date, my first, going to college. So, all these things and not having like you were saying, the drink to cope or the marijuana to cope. And you might find that things are even better.
Or the controlling husband to cope.
Or the ex-controlling husband.
The ex, yeah.
But you might find that all the things that are new now without you smoking might even be greater.
Yeah, I think that's where you get to identify too if you have a problem. It kind of leads to, I know that if I was doing it to cope, and not to just have fun, like if I was doing it every once in a while to have fun, I would keep doing it.
Yeah. But it doesn't sound like, if you're questioning, it doesn't sound like it's that much fun anymore.
It doesn't.
You know what I mean? It's like nobody that, it's people that are having fun with something don't go, should I stop?
Or call and say, like, do you think I have a problem?
Does that make sense?
I mean, again, this is not judging you. It's not making fun.
No, just joking.
No, not making fun of you. It's like, I get it. I have been there. My God, I have tried to put it down so many times. I swore it off. I'm like, okay, maybe I do. Oh, okay, okay. And then I switch over. And then it's maybe the controlling boyfriend for a while, or it's the abusive boyfriend, or it's the drugs, or it's the alcohol, or the shopping. It's always getting out of self.
Oh, my God, totally. And then when you talked about eating disorders, I'm just obsessed with what I put in my body and body image and the shopping. I think I just have an addictive personality.
I'll be honest with you. I think you might do, and you might as well. If you can relate and you see that, it's like, It's painful, and again, it's like it goes to like, and what am I lacking in life? Am I lacking self-worth, self-esteem? What do I need to deal with? Like, I used to think that like the man would fix me, and then I've had many of them and they didn't fix me, and I don't mean like a billion of them. I'm just saying, like, I always like cut their heads off and I'll use the next victim, as I call it now, and I can't keep doing that anymore. Even sober, I needed to learn to be alone, and again earlier in the show I was talking about how I'm dealing. 6 years sober and over 6 years sober, and I don't walk around going, "Oh, daddy issues," but I'm dealing with dad issues, and I'm forgiving, and I'm forgiving myself, and I'm also realizing, like, how am I okay with just me, and is just me enough? And I got to tell you, it is. And I thought I had to be something different, and I don't. Right. I still can be a wacky person. I could still go, oh my gosh, like, I'm not perfect. And I get to find the balance in all my life, in all areas of my life. They always say with us women, if they say cutting. I wasn't a cutter, but if you cut, if you drink and use, that's another one. Men, sexual relationships, or women, it depends. And eating disorders. If you have those 4 in check, then you're okay. And it sounds like you relate a lot to me and a lot of how I used to be and how I am and how I have to, like, address these situations, even sober. And I encourage you to try to find yourself. And I would love to see this progress for the next month.
That's actually awesome that you're saying that. By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. That's KLEAN with a K. We're on the phone.
That was really deep. By the way, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. I really feel you. No, but Judy, I really feel you. Like, I feel for you and I feel you. I really understand you.
And, and it's really, I think, Judy, it takes a lot to call and talk about these things. And I think sometimes the hardest thing, it's like we're constantly, until we're willing to give up and surrender, we're always looking for different things to fill that spiritual void, whether it's men, whether it's marijuana, whether it's food. I've had all these, I've had food issues, and I know it's tough. I mean, for me to get sober in the beginning, I was scared about gaining weight.
Yeah, and for women in society today, and I know for men it's hard too, but for us women, men, it is hard. It is not easy. Yeah. It is not easy with all those things we have to deal with like trying to be what we think the media is creating us to be. And when we realize, like, we get to create who we are and want to be, right? Not the media and what we see in Photoshopped.
Judy, are you gonna try it for a week?
I'm gonna try it for a week. It starts now. So, you guys are awesome.
So no alcohol or drugs, right?
You're a lot stronger than I am, and I hope I can.
No, we're not. No, we're not.
Honey, you can be here and even in a better position.
One of my biggest pet peeves, and I hear this all the time in 12-step meetings, is when somebody goes, if I could do it, you could do it. And I'm like, really? You're that special? And I'm always like, if we can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, but it's, I see it differently than you do.
It's
like,
okay. I see it right.
No, but you know what? Exactly my point is, I'm open for change and to be teachable, sir. But one of the things is if I, Junkie Jen, can, like, seriously, like, that loser, like, hope to die, people just looked at, like, let her die, hopeless case, can change, a lot of other people
We'll
can.
agree that I'm right. So, Judy, are you going to call back next week?
Calling back next week.
No alcohol or drugs for 1 week. Follow us on Facebook.
No acting out.
And follow
in
Jen
any
on
way.
Twitter. She responds. You could even direct message her. She responds to everything. You're actually really great like that. Judy, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Judy.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
I want to hug you.
So you could hug her next time.
Air hug.
Have a great night. By the way, if you just tuned in, you're listening to KLEAN Radio. It's something really great about you is that you actually respond to your, you respond. You've taken it. It's something I'm not trying to blow, I know. I know. It's something very special that you do. You've been blessed with this message that you get to carry out to people. And unlike a lot of people out there, charlatans, I want to call them, that have people that look up to them, you actually respond to you try to respond to all the people, no matter what question, no matter how silly you might think the question is. You actually feel an honor that you're getting to be on the air and that people are responding to you. You don't look at them as a burden.
Not one bit are they a burden in my life.
And I think that's really important to share because as Judy's calling in and Judy's in pain, and there are a million Judys out there. There are a million, not Judas, there's only one Judah, but there's a million Judas out there. I know, the ego. And, but you've taken, there's so many people out there, and I want them to know that if they're struggling right now, you're not just giving some lip service, and you have great lips that are real.
Thank you.
You really just carry this amazing, that it's possible it's possible to have a good, to be okay without a man. It's possible to be okay without a cheeseburger. It's possible to be okay without drugs.
Yeah. No, it's true. And it's possible to be okay without being abused, you know, in some way, in that subtle abuse or anything else, or, health issues, like whatever it is. Like, honestly, people go, oh, it's so much easier for you, I'm sure. Look at your life. Like, honey, if you saw me, and I know you did see me, glimpses of me. And I know lots of people saw me when I was getting better in the beginning. And it's not just about alcoholism and drug addiction. It's about the isms. And what Judy was saying, it sounds like she's just addicted to, and it's like, no, I get it.
And she's constantly been changing, like, as they say, seats in the Titanic, from sex to food to men.
Shopping.
To everything.
I tried it all.
And you know what? We get it. And to all the people out there, we get it. We're not saying, and it's like, no, we get it. But eventually, Billy Joel had a great song, and one of the lines in it was, when the fun falls through and the rent comes due, somewhere along the line, and it was about eventually everything just stops working, and one day the rent's due, and you don't have it. I don't know if that song made any sense right now, but that could be because my tooth.
No. Yeah. I get it. Just like you're quoting Billy
Joel, this famous singer.
No, I know. I've heard of him once or twice. Annie Lennox says, one of her lines is, I'm afraid... wait, what is it? It's dying is easy. It's living that scares me. And like that seriously could be the title of my life, and sometimes, and I have to, like, I was getting ready tonight and I was like, fact from fiction, I am smart. Fact from fiction, I'm okay. Like I got this new show and I'm so honored about it. And I have to write my own stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like hosting a TV thing. And I'm like, oh my God, and I'm smart enough, even though I didn't go to college, like I'm smart enough. I got this job because I earned it,
right.
And it's like, I got to constantly go like, what am I scared of? Really? It's like my dreams are coming true. Like it's other things too. And I'm like, really? What am I scared of? No one's like, I'm not drugged up.
Right. But I think, it's so funny, and we're running out of time here pretty soon. And one of the things I like to say, it's like people constantly like to threaten alcoholics and addicts with death. And I'm like, that's not going to scare an alcoholic or an addict. That might scare their family member. But if you want to scare an alcoholic or an addict, tell them how good their life's going to be.
Yeah.
Because that's terrifying for an alcoholic and an addict, because that's why I drank. When I was drinking, I was always paralyzed my whole life over what I could do. I was never paralyzed over what I couldn't do. Life just terrified me. And I know there are people out there. Right. I just couldn't, I couldn't handle it.
Or being loved for
or
me.
anything.
Like, or whatever. I mean, I can go on and on.
It was pretty much anything good.
Yeah.
Terrified me.
Yeah.
And so that scares me, and that scares a lot of people. So I'm not going to scare people out there and say, oh, my God, I'm going to say, if you actually could stop drinking, you're going to live the greatest life. And
you're going to have, and it's not, you may have a really crappy time because it's life on life's terms. You're going to live from freedom of bondage, period.
That just sounded like if somebody just tuned in, we'd sound like we're a sex show.
Yeah.
That people are going to live freedom from bondage.
No, I am free from, I literally, I remember when I called my sponsor last year and I was like, I did it, and blah, blah, blah. I was talking about something and I was sobbing uncontrollably. It was like this time last year. It was in June. And she said, welcome to freedom of bondage of abuse. Right. You're freed from the bondage of abuse. And it was like,
yeah.
It was huge.
Because you're right, because I don't think people know that they
that's
could be free.
What I get free from.
I think that people get into situations, they get into things, no matter what it is, whether it's a relationship, whether it's alcohol and drugs, that they don't know that there's an other way. And there was a Killer song a couple of years ago, When You Were Young. I don't know if you know that song, but I don't know why I don't want to sing it.
Why are we quoting, like...
I don't, because
I'm going to quote some Madonna.
I'm in song quote night, and I'm a huge Killer fan. But I was thinking about, never mind. But there is a great life out there. That's all I'm saying. And you're proof positive that, to people out there that think they can't get it back. You have a lot of people that are...
I gave it up,
Right.
though. I got to tell you, like, people are like, oh, but you had it. Like, I gave it. I walked away from it.
You
It
walked away
came
from
to
the
me.
movie industry, from the modeling.
In the entertainment world, and
right.
it came to me, and I did the work before I got back into it, and I was like, all right, I'll take it. And now I'm like, I'm gonna take charge of it. It's not who I am, it's what I do, but I know who I am.
Right. But I think
But it's people like you that help me.
Yes, it is people. What
No,
would
it's true.
What would the world do without me? And
Not cry on the phone with you.
No, don't cry on the phone with me. But
Cry.
but here's the thing: what you're just saying is, like, I think people, when they get sober and they've had stuff and they've lost the stuff, it's terrifying because they don't see how they could get it back, or they may never get it back. But the one gift that you're actually getting is that you're sober. That's like somebody. I was on the phone with somebody today, and I hate to sound cliche, but that sometimes is the greatest gift you're going to have that day. As everything else is going wrong, you're getting divorced, you're losing your wife, you're losing your job. If all you had at the end of the day was that you were still sober, that's the greatest gift, because at least tomorrow you could get something.
Yes, because this time last year I didn't have the job at Clean. I didn't have the other jobs I had
You have
going
a job
on.
at... I'm joking.
And
All right.
or did I have the shows that I was?
Yeah.
I mean, on this day probably last year, I was not working and I was living on someone's couch.
Yeah.
I didn't know how I was going to do. Meanwhile, I'm on TV, but I wasn't anything promising that a check was coming, and I was like, at least I'm doing this because I know that I can die with a conscience, like a
Right.
clear conscience, and that I know it's going to get better. I don't believe that God, and that's my God, I don't believe that my God brings me this far to leave me, and God doesn't make junk. Like, the universe didn't bring me this far to leave me. I have a story to tell, and I choose to tell it to the best of my ability.
Yeah, I just want to hear you say, "I am woman." Hear me roar.
I say it without the words,
you
kiddo.
You are awesome. We're running out of time. I want to thank all of Jen Twitter Nation, who's now
And they're all going crazy on
Yeah.
Judy. They're like
Yeah.
Judy, if you're listening,
Yeah.
my
You now
tweets
have a whole new-
are like,
You now have a whole new.
yeah,
and they're
just
awesome.
chanting your name right now on my Twitter. And thanks, you guys. Thank you guys.
And sometimes
for
Sunday
chanting.
nights,
I'm getting the chills. I love you guys.
If I ever don't respond to you, it's just because I'm exhausted tonight. I might not.
I'm exhausted. I'm responding at 4 a.m.
But I love you all. We'll be back.
I love you.
Yeah.
Get better. I can't wait to see you talk a lot.
The discussion continues. We'll see you next week at KLEANRadio.com.
Love you. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Have a good night.
Are you struggling with an addiction that's ruining your life? Want to have a confidential conversation with a professional that will immediately assist you? Do you suspect a loved one is abusing drugs and would like a free drug testing kit and consultation? KLEAN Treatment Center is standing by right now to help those with addictions and the people who care about them. Call 888-601-6040. That's 888-601-6040. Or go to KLEAN Treatment Center, that's clean with a K, cleantreatmentcenter.com.